I hope my screen is visible now.
Yes, sir. We can see it.
Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir.
So, good morning to all of you. It's my great pleasure to be a part of this Pragma Summit. I am extremely thankful to Mr. D.K. Sharma and other office bearers for this wonderful opportunity. And I wish all the attendees a very good morning for this Pragma Summit. Let me first place on record my heartfelt appreciation as a passionate practitioner on cost management techniques, that it was very thoughtful of Mr. D.K. Sharma to bring in this topic of target costing in die design. I have taken a die design as one of the tools where this target costing can be practiced. I'm really, I would like to compliment from my heart, the bottom of my heart, for this action of Mr. D.K. Sharma to bring in this topic. And it is rightfully so, because in the context of what was said yesterday in the inaugural session of Mr. Nitin Gadkari, Honorable Minister, and the way Mr. Sharma had reacted, this particular technique offers wonderful opportunity to create breakthroughs in the competition and in the competitive cost structure of our products, to make ourselves globally competitive and be a very good, robust participant in the Atmanirbhar initiative of our Honorable Prime Minister. This is for the simple reason that this particular technique can bring in innovative thoughts, streaks of brilliance in the process of die design, yet not compromise on the quality levels what customers want. Having said that, let me also give a caution to the attendees that I'm going to only give you a flavor of this technique. In a span of 30 minutes, we can't completely master the nuances of this target costing as a concept as well as a technique. We can't do that. So what certainly I can bring to the table is give you a flavor of this target costing approach. Try to show it how it can be brought in a typical die design with an aluminum die casting example, and then tickle your juices of innovative thought processes. I am going to certainly do that. In that process, my presentation is structured into 4 blocks. Please follow me very carefully in that. The first block would place target costing in a particular backdrop. What is the business context and how should one relate target costing as a cost management technique? That is the first part of my presentation. The second part of my presentation, slightly I will drill down and give a very brief exposure of the theory part of the target costing, how it is generally practiced and what sort of industries have done exceedingly well even today in this technique, just to give a point to you that it is not a theoretical concept I am talking of. The third part of my presentation is, particularly in the context of die design, the target costing can work very well only in that ecosystem the partners come together, all the stakeholders of the ecosystem come together. So particularly in the die design, the OEMs and the supply chain will have to come together in practicing this. And in that context, the third part of my presentation, I'll give you how this is being practiced in a typical OEM example I will take. The last part of my presentation is I will go down to the grassroots level and try to give you a flavor of how this idea followed by the technique can be built into a typical, taking an example of a die of an aluminum casting. So these are all the 4 parts of my presentation. So kindly take it in the same sequence. First, the general. Second, the examples, the theory part of the tool. Third, the application in the OEM. And lastly, how it can be practiced in a typical aluminum die casting design. So now let me proceed with the first part of my presentation. So if you look at this screen very carefully, you can divide the screen into 3 parts. First is understanding a business strategy. Second, how companies convert strategy into action. And third, what are all the typical tools one can use So the first part is in any business strategy today, the globally it has become extremely competitive, and today without embedding managing competition, no company or no business can design its strategy. And hence the starting point of adopting any tool which is on the right side, what you see is all about strategy. Long back, cost management means you start in the factory, but today it is not so. You need to start from the strategy. You need to start who are all the customers you are trying to make happy, who are all the stakeholders of your business, and what is the value proposition for you. And hence, in implementing the strategy, you break the strategy into the four parts, what you see in the central part of the diagram. You divide the strategy into what are all the customer segments, what you want to be, and what products they would want, what processes you need to have, and what risks are involved. These are all the elements of a strategy. Typically, in someone who manufactures a die, I may have multiple segments. I may be in automobile segment. I may be in a segment of four-wheelers. I may be in a segment of two-wheelers. I may be in the segment of an aerospace can be in my segment, or it can be any other residual category. So I need to segment by business, and in that segment, who are all my customers and what products they want and what value proposition. Unless a company which is in the business of die making segments its business and accordingly decides a product mix and the type of processes they want, today successful strategies cannot be implemented. So in implementing the strategy, a company develops lots of cost management tools. This is what the domain of total cost management is all about, which is the right part of this diagram. So typically a total cost management connects itself with a strategy. So one of the tool you find, the first tool, topmost tool you notice at the right side of the central diagram is target costing. So target costing is typically a tool adopted in any competitive strategy where you are in multiple customer segments and there is a fierce price competition, yet you need to make profit because you cannot compromise on the price, and hence you can't compromise also on the profit, because without a reasonable return on your sales, there is no point in being in business. So what all you need to now target is only the cost which can be targeted, and hence given a target price and the desire for aspirational profit, you need to target the cost management customer wise and product wise, and that is where the target costing as a tool gets embedded in implementing a competitive strategy. This is where you position target costing as a tool in implementing competitive strategies. Now, having fixed that, let us now look at this particular equation, what you see on the screen. How the pricing strategies now drive with the economy becoming more competitive and the scales are tilting. So once upon a time, price was something where, like, I determined the cost of making a die, I added up all my material cost, labor cost, overhead cost, the way a product has to be made, the inserts which need like that, and a desired profit, and then I could demand a price from the market depending upon your buying or selling power in a typical value chain. This was okay in a supply controlled economy, but as and when the competition started, the pains. So the equation of cost plus profit is equal to price started paining the manufacturers. And at times when you design a particular tooling material, you build in the hydraulic cylinder, what the customer wants, you build in all the drafts and the radiuses required in the components, you are targeting an extremely high surface quality, and you finally find with all the levels and the desired profit, customer offers you a price, it pains you because you are left with a scanty margin of 1 or 2%. This is the way where target costing cannot work. But it will work in an environment where the price is given by the marketplace, there is nothing you can do about it, but you need to make profit on that 8% profit, 10% profit, so that is not compromisable. So cost now becomes price given profit aspiration, and price minus profit is equal to cost. So this is the equation in which target costing works very well, and that is exactly what yesterday also we heard several times from Mr. D.K. Sharma as well. So when price is market driven in a free market economy with competition creeping on you created by the value chain, this is where the target costing works very well. Now you find I am introducing a very important word here called value chain. So why this is important to understand about the value chain in a typical die manufacturer dilemma, this is what we need to see. So you please look at this particular screen where I am giving you an example of a typical leather value chain. We all buy leather products. It can be shoes, it can be your purse, or it can be any other leather accessory. So the customers are in different segments. You are seeing at the bottom of the screen. I can be a customer, that's if it is a leather shoe, or it can be a lady's handbag, or it can be leather jacket, it can be leather garment, it can be leather accessory, it can be a leather shoes. There are multiple segments. So each segment becomes a separate value chain. But finally, if you look at the origin of the value chain of a typical leather industry, it starts from a bovine cattle farm, which gives on the death of the dead cattle goes to a slaughterhouse. So a slaughterhouse strips out the skin, which is going into the raw tanneries. The raw tanneries output gets finished by a finished leather tannery. Then there's the industry of leather industry accessories like pins and things like that and whatnot, sole, etc., depending on the segment. And then the leather products manufacturer who manufactures as per the design. The design houses can be in some other part of the world, whereas manufacturing can take place in India. There is a leather logistics which takes these products and finally it gets delivered to the customer segments. So this is a complete value chain. So ultimately, the dilemma of a typical leather product manufacturing, or the dilemma of each one of them in this small box. There can be a cattle owner who can be a different company or an individual. There can be a slaughterhouse, which can be a separate entity. There can be a raw tannery. Each one of them will face the price pressure depending upon what the final price pressure is exerted by the customer who is at the end of the screen. So I may be having an excellent, I may be selling leather shoes to manufacturer, to customers, with extremely branded, well designed and all that. And I can afford a very good price from the customer. So when such a customer becomes a customer of the leather manufacturer, then he gets a better price per square foot of the leather made. But the same leather manufacturer, when he sells that leather to not so a robust customer, but to someone who sells somewhere leather accessories or leather jacket, not to an upcountry, a premium market, then he cannot get a very good price from the customer per leather square feet. So he exerts a very strong pressure. So basically, depending upon the value chain positioning where you are, the price point where you are, there will be an extreme pressure on the prices translating into a cost pressure in each of these points. Please remember, the process is the same, the flow is the same, but depending upon the value chain positioning, you will get a differential price pressure on your product mix. It can be a product mix of leather products manufacturing. It can be a product mix of accessory. It can be a product mix of a finished leather tannery. But depending upon your customer mix, you will get a price pressure. This is what the implications of value chain itself for a typical die maker. So let's apply this concept to a typical die maker. So what is the dilemma of a die maker? So a die maker, someone who manufactures a die, he can be in multiple value chains. For example, I can be in the value chain of a two-wheeler. I can be in the value chain of a passenger cars. Again, in passenger cars, someone who is on a price competition and sells to a segment like the biggest car manufacturer in India, Maruti cars, where I go more on the low cost car with no frills. But I can also be in the value chain of a passenger car who is a high-end manufacturer, extremely high in terms of quality and the premium focus, like some of the Hondas and Toyotas and BMWs. So within the passenger cars also there can be a differentiated segment. Or a die maker can sell for a two-wheeler. Or a die maker can also be in a commercial vehicle segment like Tata Motors and Ashok Leyland. Or a die maker can also make for aerospace segment, like what Mr. Satish spoke yesterday. A die maker can be in all this. But typically what happens is, when a die maker adds up the cost of making for all this and tries to sell on a cost plus basis to the customer, what really happens is, it will be extremely difficult to sell it at a desired price to a two-wheeler. It will be more difficult perhaps to a commercial vehicle or a passenger car, or it can be extremely difficult to a white goods segment or a furniture segment. So one may be wondering, what is this? These customers are giving such a tight run for me. So what is the strategically the product mix I can have? I will be wondering as a die maker, and I will be in a dilemma. And further, it will be very, very surprising that the two-wheeler wants a different value proposition. I am not talking about the price. For him, the die means certain set of values. For a passenger car, there can be a different set of values. For a commercial vehicles, there is a different set of values. So, and he pays a price for that value he buys from a die maker. This is exactly where target costing as a technique comes in handy as a tool in the hands of a die maker in a value chain when he can operate in multiple value chains. And this is where bringing the value proposition of the buyer or the OEM and what I can make as a cost, that comes in as a part of the target costing embedded die design. So now I am going to the second part of the presentation in what I told you earlier, giving you the multiple blocks. So what a typical target costing is all about. So I'm going fast on this in view of the time constraint. It's price-led. The focus is on the customer. It is not based on cost plus pricing. It is based on the customer value. The target costing focuses heavily on design, not on the manufacturing process and then adding up the cost. It is not done post facto. It is done pre-stage. To achieve a typical optimized die design, I need an extremely cross-functional involvement. The life cycle orientation of the die and the business volumes of the OEM becomes very important. And typically, target costing cannot be practiced as a standalone tool in my own organization. It can be an MSME or it can be an SME, but I need to involve the value chain. It is more of a typical concurrent engineering process. These are some of the principles of target costing. And in particular, target costing is a value-based targeting. I need to understand what is the price the customer is willing to pay. And for that particular price, I need to understand what are all the functionalities the customers wants in my product. And my products, how it delivers that value proposition. This understanding the value is an important ingredient of this target costing. So having done that, typically target costing works like this. I am not taking an individual company view. It is a value chain view. A company which is an extreme competition, a OEM, either it can be in any of the segments what you saw, they keep on introducing products without which no companies can survive today, which is based on market research, defining the product or the customer niche, competitive analysis, understanding the customer requirements, defining the product features, and then deriving the market price. So this is how a typical OEM establishes the product target cost for a given customer value. So how do I achieve that? I make an initial cost estimate, compare it to the target cost, design the product or the process which is required accordingly, perform the value engineering, not in vacuum, but connected with cost. So perform a cost analysis linked to the value what customer wants, then estimate the achievable cost, undertake continuous improvement on again at the design stage and achieve the actual cost. This is how a typical target costing works. It combines understanding of the customer value and then embedding that in the target costing process or the design process. So let's look at this with a very simple example in automobile of how a customer feature is linked to a part level. Now you look at the three blocks. First block is what customers want. Second block is how this is built into the product. And second, supply chain making like us or it be a component. So the customer features has 5 features like fun to drive, safety, good mileage, comfortable seats, low maintenance. If you take one of the feature called fun to drive, that transfers pressure to the engine design, powertrain design, and chassis design. If you take engine design and there is a target cost based on the customer feature, that gets transferred to valves and pistons going to this engine. This is how typical value cost mapping happens target costing ecosystem. So now I am going to the third part of the example where I am taking the OEM of a typical machine maker. So someone is making, for example, a typical CNC lathe. And this OEM, when he surveys the customer, he finds that his customer wants in a particular segment features like the customer survey indicates geometric tolerance is important for him, reliability is important for him, flexibility is important for him, life of the machine, he gives certain time for reconditioning, the coolant and chip management is a part of the value proposition, reduced cycle time in the form of better tool life and reduced cutting time is important for him, user friendliness and ease of maintenance, and how the machine appears in terms of the space occupancy, etc. Now, all these 8 features, what you see, will have mathematical quantification. Obviously, I am not disclosing all that in this screen, but the customer survey will have to bring out the mathematical combination of this. So you will all understand, obviously, flexibility means different to different customers. The ability to machine all metals. So a particular component machining in the, for example, SGA iron, he will be requiring a different level of flexibility. If I am machining an aluminum, I will require a different level of flexibility and reliability. This is how the variations can come in the features between various value chains. So now typically with this background, the customer, this OEM guy makes a customer survey. You can see this C1, C2, C3, C4, C5. This is the end result of a typical customer survey. And you can see the ranking. Like for example, geometric tolerance, customer 1 has given 4th rank, whereas customer 4 has given rank 1. So this is how the value proposition can change. With this sort of ranking results of a OEM, not everyone can do that, but this has to be necessarily done by an OEM. I derive the value proposition and build it into the target cost. So how do I do that? You see this screen matrix of correlation, which is something like a conjoint analysis used in the TQM world. So the customer features are like you see on the horizontal lines: geometric tolerance, dimensional, form and position, surface finish, repeatability. You see the value proposition. Now I map this value proposition in a conjoint analysis exercise to the aggregates of a typical machine, CNC lathe. It can be CNC system, it can be a spindle, it can be feed system, the ATC, automatic tool changer, coolant, lubricant, splash guard, electrical systems, etc. So the words what you see inside, high, medium, low, is all a degree of correlation, which is nothing but value linked with the engineering part of these aggregates. So this matrix is very, very important for me to translate what customer wants, which is on the horizontal, to how it can come out of the design of an individual product. So this is where, please note this triangle, which is the heart of a typical target costing. There is a given price. The customer is willing to give a different, is expecting a functionality. Functionality is defined as the features of a product with technical specifications. And quality is defined as the performance to the specification. Please remember, if the customer wants, let's say, 50,000 hours or 5 years of the 5 years of the machine life, if we decide on design 7 years of the machine life, which is more than what customer wants, it is excess design. So quality is defined by just performing to the specifications what customer want and not unwantedly excelling it. So if I give more than what the customer wants, then I am over designing. So this balancing this coordinate of price, functionality and quality, which is a part of the designing exactly to the functionality, is the typical exercise which is being built into the CNC lathe, what you just now saw. So this exercise, which is now I am explaining with the OEM vendor, for your benefit, there are 2 major value chain users of the target costing exercise today, even in tooling industry. One example is aerospace and another is automobiles. So you will find extensive use of target costing in the tooling industry, particularly in Korea, where the survey has indicated that Korean industry support to aerospace and automobiles are these 2 segments where there's an extensive use of the target costing technique of balancing these 3, which I just now explained. So now I go back to the same OEM example. How does this work? I need to achieve the target cost. So in this attempt, I must include all the features what customer wants while maintaining my target cost, or I should be below the target cost. By doing what? By eliminating the features not desired by the customer, it will increase the product cost, and adding unwanted features will increase the cost. Bring in the desired features and unnecessarily don't add features what the customers do not want. So when I do this, I achieve the target cost. In this particular OEM case or the CNC case, let us go through a simple arithmetic example. Let us assume that the target price of the CNC lathe is rupees 25 lakhs. So using that conjoint analysis or the matrix equation, what you just now saw, when I reverse the value flow from the customer to the target cost, which is the customer is affording aggregate wise, which is the vertical columns, what you saw, when I reverse this 25 lakhs, I can come to a conclusion that the allowable cost for the CNC system is only rupees 3 lakhs. That is what the customer is willing to pay a price for the CNC system, because the aggregate price is only 25 lakhs, and based on the value proposition, a part of this 25 lakhs goes to the various aggregates based on the conjoint analysis what you saw. So a portion of this 25 lakhs done through that conjoint analysis, 3 lakhs is attributable to the CNC system. Now the challenge comes when the CNC vendor is having a technology proprietary and says, no, I can't give you less than 5 lakhs. So this is exactly where the Korean companies, what I told you, have embedded target costing with something called a TRIS, a technology-based intervention or innovation in solving very tough situations like this. I also need at a controlled price, I also need quality. How do I optimize? So using such target costing along with technology intervention through TRIS, they have applied in optimizing cost even in this sort of areas, particularly in countries like Korea, Taiwan, and in some places, India also, this technique is being applied in a robust way. So this is how I try to reach to a target of 3 lakhs, whereas my technology common supplier who is supplying the systems want based on target costing 3. So let me come to my presentation. How do I then drop this down to a typical? This is a comfortable diagram. All of you know, this is a typical diagram manufacturer uses it. The fixed and part of it. A typical manufacturer can be it can be in the other industry also. So the value chain his quality of promote well. Not be the die should be good. Trouble should be better. That will be good, and that should be ease of maintenance. So the other cycle time, trouble free. The value between mobile and the other industry different. Don't go by data here. Data. Talking to 3 companies who are for aluminum. But I did a quick survey of 3-4 and picked up them of data. With this, you have a challenge in the data. How I then start things. Now you can matrix what you saw here. So you see it on a typical on control side, you have the fixed part of the die moving the subsets. And actually access is excel. Similarly, on the side, so now what does it want out of assembly of all? Like he dimension accuracy, he casting quality, he wants trouble, he wants ease of maintenance. Now this correlation matrix is the heart of the whole mechanism, which is the conjoint and only one. You take as of casting quality, 100% has, and side has got first role. The welding and gating section has 50% the more regulation act. May have that. So please. So once I have this idea and there is a die price, I will exactly know how much the customer is willing to pay for the cutting surface quality or the porosity based on the value proposition. So how does this what you saw? For we can customer features first block quality island. If I take surface quality, it example the inserts inside the thermo if I insert moving and set and related elements, it all depends on how the designer has he included radius requirement or not included, has he included draft requirement or not included. It all depends on what is the value proposition customer wants. An extremely rich customer, I can increase my radius requirement. I can design a perfect radius so that the surface finish component comes out fantastic. But if the customer doesn't follow that surface finish, I will be able to compensate my machining, but I need to control my die cost. The radius requirement and the drafting requirement, a typical machining choice of 3D machining or lesser route, less costlier route, it can be my option. So in this way, how do I achieve the target costing and die design? So in this example, just now saw, this is the last slide for me, and then I finish. Let us say the target on aluminum die cast is 10 lakhs. So based on the value proposition survey, what you saw, I can now out of that, the customer is willing to pay. He thinks that surface quality value proposition for him, he allows a price of only 1.5 lakhs, which is a part of this 10 lakhs. The engineering excellence in the die design should be pursued, and it should be pursued with target costing to best design the draft 3D machining. If I do it from an engineering angle, if I don't bring in target cost of 1.5 lakhs or price of 1.5, I can choose possible ADS design, the best possible draft design, the best possible 3D machining, etc. Shrewd mind based on the value chain thinking in design in the design process would now know that particular value chain does not give that. So how do I put my OEM and embed the design what it wants? I exercise design choices. I over specify the process. Can I bring down my radius requirement? Can I eliminate the draft? I do all this only in the selecting or selecting method of selecting them, which will create extensive or intensive machining process, and based on this derivative of 1.5 of allowable price for one part of the value proposition, which is a part of the target costing process. If such a process need to work and need to come successfully with breakthrough in the Atmanirbhar Bharat, what needs to be done is to bring in this target costing in the tooling industry. TAGMA has to play a proactive role to promote it as a best practice, and it can't be in an isolated way. Companies that should rate in the content engineering process, value has to be built. Excessive cost less when compared to a die maker. For example, I can demand.
Hello.
I am attributing, and hence the OEM presence is very important. But how can I get these breakthrough OEMs maybe a little delayed in coming? We need to patronize this to be by government. That the gentleman, I think Amit by name, what Mr. Nitin Gadkari you mentioned, we need to bring in guys to make this as a practice and aero and defense segment. And once the word spreads, the innovative ideas can then be brought in, should be encouraged, so that this particular target costing practice can become a best practice in the tooling industry, proactively pushed by TUGMA in the ecosystem. And this is the sum and substance of the target costing embedding in the die design I would very strongly recommend. And if TUGMA can take it up along with the government as a part of the Atmanirbhar initiative, people like me who are passionate about this will always support wholeheartedly such an initiative. I wind up my address thanking Mr. D.K. Sharma from my heart for giving me this opportunity to be a part of this excellent TUGMA summit. Thank you, sir.